Well, hello, peri and postmenopausers. We're back. We're back. So listen, one of the things that can trouble so many of us, so many of you, is the experience. And when I say the experience, I'm talking about how you feel versus how someone else feels. Some of you may even be thinking, man, my mom didn't prepare me for this. And that's probably true because ladies didn't really talk about, how they felt or what was going on. And quite frankly, where were they going to get answers? Doctors didn't really talk about it. They knew that women went through this change of life, and really the only part of it was cycle stop. But as far as dealing with the rest of it and how people feel, that wasn't necessarily our mother's experiences around going to a doctor, talking about it, hormones and, what can I do and how do I change my lifestyle? But the other part of it is some of the experiences might honestly just be different because of the lifestyle that we lead.
Oh my.
Many of you are so powerful, meaning you have some of positions that some of our moms couldn't even dream of. You are in professions that are very male dominated. You're in positions that are male dominated, but you still have a very common or very traditional roles, meaning you're still a caregiver, you're still potentially a mom, you're still someone who takes care of other people. And we're doing all these things. Those of you who may not have children, maybe you're in a situation where you may be taking care of other family members, taking care of your pets, taking care of nieces and nephews. You may be the person who's financially responsible for many other people. So it's a lot going on when you think about people's professional lives, their home lives, their personal life around maybe friends, relationships. So there's a lot going on, and that just wasn't, our mother's experiences. So right now you're in that camp where you're trying to figure out, where do I fit in? Man, this seems like a lot, and I just wasn't really expecting it. But the other part is you may be hearing from, some of your friends, and while your experience may not be the best, you may be talking to a friend who feels like, nothing, there's nothing really different. My period stopped 2 years ago and by itself naturally. And maybe I got hot a couple times, but I don't really notice anything different. And I know you're giving your friend a side eye. Like, really? Thanks. Great. But just know that everybody's experience is so different. And there are so many factors of why someone's experience could be different. And it can go all the way back to being a teen. People who play sports, depending on when your cycle started, as a teen, depending on if you have exercised the entire time, depending on if you've been strength training. How do you manage stress? What is your profession? How many children do you have? Are you someone who's had a hysterectomy, partial hysterectomy, total hysterectomy? Are you someone who's had fibroids, PCOS? There's so many different aspects of what is going on and how it can impact someone's experience. Are you someone who's had an eating disorder in your life? Did you smoke at some point? Did you have to take a lot of medication? Do you have another type of concern? Example, those with type 1 diabetes, as a child. Your experience right now can be different. Those of you who may have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and you take meds, your experience might be different. Those of you who may have suffered from depression or anxiety, like clinical depression, you may be experiencing something different. So everybody's experience is so unique. So you cannot compare the experience you have versus someone else. But what we can find commonality in, we have to have an eating routine that works for your body. We have to have an exercise routine that includes strength training that you can do consistently. We have to have a sleep schedule, a wind down, right? That we can get quality sleep. And that comes with a few other pieces to that puzzle, right? On how we get there. We have to have a stress management program, dare I say. You got to have a way to manage stress in your life. And you got to be able to acknowledge when it's there and not like for play when sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that those things exist. And some of the way we do it is really about having a mindset shift. And some of it is just about, do you have a growth mindset or do you have more of a pessimist? mindset. Now, let me tell you, some of us may call it glass half full or glass half empty, but I'm going to call it growth mindset. Because in order to navigate some of what we're experiencing right now, you have to be someone who's willing to change your thoughts, willing to change your view. And you have to be open to doing it different, hearing things that may be contradictory to what you thought prior. And you got to be someone who can listen and absorb and then take the information and do something with it. And that's why I say a growth mindset, because this is a new stage of life, whether you like it or not. This is what women experience. That's a part of being a woman. And many of you may be watching this who may be living life as a male, but you got, female parts. So I'm going to say that a little bit differently. It's a part of having female parts, right? When we have female parts, it means that we're going to go through this process. And so every single person with female parts will. So some of it is perspective on how we view it. And then there's some things that are just absolutely physical aspects of what you experience, period. But the first step is, how do you feel about it? Is this part of life associated with something that you think is not great? Sometimes we can have women experience a little bit of depression around this part of life because it also means that they're no longer having children. And some people may not necessarily think that that's going to affect them until it happens and you realize that there's some finality to, I'm no longer going to have children. And there can be a little bit of a downer to it for some people. Now, then some of you are like, yes, best day ever. Look, I wish it had happened sooner. So it just depends. And we can never assume where you are in that spectrum, but you have to be able to share, this is how I feel about it. Then we can deal with kind of the real physical aspects of what are you experiencing? Now, again, it can range the gamut. Some people literally can feel like their entire way of thinking is not what they used to. What do I mean by that? I was just talking to a woman yesterday, and one of the things she said is, I feel like my ability to be decisive and make decisions is just not the same. She's literally now taking a lot of time to reflect on all of her decision making, where before she was a little bit more impulsive as a person. Now, it doesn't make one better than the other. She just acknowledges that it's different. Some of you may acknowledge and realize that, man, your temper is really short, or you find yourself having little to no patience. And some of you didn't have any anyway. So right now you may find yourself feeling like, I really don't have that patience. Or you may find yourself just angry and you don't even know why. And you realize, hey, that doesn't really make sense, but you're not really sure what's going on, right? Some of you may find yourself just tired, period, just tired, right? You may also be finding that all of a sudden food tastes different. Not that you're allergic to it, not even that you're sensitive, just something that you liked, you don't like anymore. Right? So that's why I'm saying it's about a growth mindset, because it's about you realizing that there are going to be some things that you didn't expect. And there's ways to navigate it. And some of the things that you didn't expect, maybe things that you welcome, like, I love it. And then there's going to be some things that you're like, I don't know about it. But the more that you can maintain that growth mindset, the better off you'll be, because you're saying, I'm ready to take the next step. I'm ready to take on the challenge. And it's going to help you feel better about maybe what you may be experiencing that might not be so great. I.e., if you're someone who's got vertigo, if you're someone who all of a sudden realizes that, man, my sugar is rising, but I never had a sugar problem before. So that growth mindset will not only help you navigate and be very clear and understand, okay, things are different, but it's also going to help you take action about what you're going to do. And that's why so many of you are here. You're ready to take action on what you need to do differently to get this under control. And every single thing, I know sometimes I sound like a broken record, but I promise you that every single thing we do and the way that so much of our experiences show up are around the lifestyle that we lead. Not everything, y'all, but the lifestyle we lead does have a huge impact on how our body responds to things. So, example, if you know full well that when you drink alcohol, it makes your skin itchy, your hands tight, or your skin show up, differently. Maybe you have almost like a little bit of eczema that shows up randomly because now it shows up randomly when you drink alcohol, or you realize that it gives you hot flashes, or it causes you to sweat in your sleep. How long are you gonna do that? When are you gonna say, "Oh, I actually, you know what? I need to stop. Let's go ahead and stop." Or when you realize that the more sugar you eat, your skin is itching and it's random everywhere. Like, gosh, my skin is so itchy. Not as dry, it's just you're itchy. Or you realize that you can't sleep well, or your stomach is sensitive or bloated. How long are you gonna do that? Or are you gonna go ahead and cut back? Sometimes we don't want to do those things. That's why I say a growth mindset, and knowing that there are things that you have to do differently and you can change. Nothing has to stay the same. Your brain has the ability to learn new habits and new skills if you allow it to. So I want you to really think about, do you have a growth mindset? And if you don't, what is blocking you from being able to do that? Because sometimes that little bit of shift in your mentality can change everything about what you feel. It can help you have the motivation. It can help you move forward when you thought you were stuck. It can help you get past the plateau. It can also help you learn to be consistent because you believe in what you're doing and you understand why you do what you do, and you're ready to take the next step. You're ready to take action versus a hesitation or pulling back because it seems uncomfortable, it's different, it's unfamiliar. This whole aspect is going to be unfamiliar because you have not experienced it before. And we only get one go round at it, right? None of us get to rewind this. We get one go round. So take that step and really look at, if you do not have a growth mindset right now, what do you need to do differently? And if you find yourself thinking about things that you cannot control, then I want you to think about this. And I'm going to add this into the video. It's called the sphere of control. Oftentimes, we are fixated on things that we cannot change. And we call those, sometimes it's going to be big rocks versus small rocks. The things that we can control wholeheartedly, we're going to call those the big rocks. These are things that we get the chance to say yes, no. We get the chance to change them. These are the things that impact us the most. They're in our sphere of control, our circle. And they're going to be things that kind of sit on the perimeter, or they sit way out. And sometimes you're focused on those things that sit way outside of that circle. And those have become kind of your 80% of the things you spend time on, versus the things inside your circle are the things that you have the ability to do differently. So I want you, if you are stuck and you feel like you do not have that growth mindset, then I want you to look at the worksheet that I've attached called the Sphere of Control. And I want you to take some time and fill that out and really look at where you are missing it. And are the things that you believe to be in your control versus the things that you can't? Number one, do you have them in the right place? And then number two, have you been focusing on the things that you 100% can control? Oftentimes we aren't. So I cannot wait for you to, number one, think about, do you have that growth mindset or not? Then number two, if you don't, I want you to look over that sphere of control and I want you to fill that out. I cannot wait to see what you think, what you come up with, and what are you going to do differently after today. See you soon.